Hey, what is up, guys? So welcome back to the sixth video of the mini series, and in this mini series, we're gonna do this structure. So we're gonna do the reverse pyramid, and then we're gonna have empty spaces the inside the pyramid. So yeah, someone in the comments the last video said if we could print the the base of the pyramid with star and spaces alternating. So yeah, we can do, and then that's what I would be doing in this video. So basically there's a lot going in this structure. So basically we need a loop that's gonna count as usual the number of rows it's going through, and then there's gonna be another loop responsible for printing these spaces. There's gonna be a loop responsible for printing only the first row. That's gonna be that's gonna be star space alternating, and then there's gonna be another loop responsible for printing the stars that is causing this inclination. Okay, so for this, let's get the user input and store it in user input variable, and then let's store this user input in user so that we can mess with this user variable, and then this user input would still remain the same. So just because of that, we are using user input in another variable. So first, let's run the big loop for I in range, and then let's run it user input times. Okay, and then first we're gonna get this spaces which is causing the inclination. So for that, let's write another loop for j in range. So we want the spaces to increase, so that's the reason we will be using I. So for the first iteration, I is going to have value of 0, so that means this won't run, and so we can use our other loop which would be printing this, and then from the next iteration of the big loop we can have space that would gradually increase. So yeah, let's write print add space and then concate the spaces. There you go. Okay, and now after we have these spaces, now let's go for the first row. So the first row would be if I is equal to 0. So that means for the first iteration of I, which will be this first row. So for that, what we want to do, if I is equal to 0, meaning if it's the first row, what we want to do first, we're going to run a loop for m in range, and then this loop, so the number of times we want to run this loop would be the number of elements here. So we have the star and space, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. So since it's 7-row pyramid, we have 13 elements including the space. So yeah, so the math equation that we can come up with is 2 times user input minus 1. And then now what we want to do, since in all the even places we have a star, so this is the 0 place, this is the 2, this is the second place, this is the 4th, this is the 6th. That means for every even value of m, we need to print a star. So what we can do, we're going to check if m modulus 2, that means if m is divided by 2, if you get a 0 as a remainder, that means it is an even number. So if it's that, we want to print a star and then just concate it. Okay, so once we have the first star concated, meaning once we have the star in the even place, we also want to place the spaces in the odd place. So for that, let's write a list m modulus 2, and then what's going to happen, if it's odd, it's going to have a remainder 1, and then we're going to print space, and then let's concate the spaces. All right, so once we have the first row down, let's move to the other rows. So for the rest of the rows except the first one, we have we have same way of approaching every row. That is, we will be printing these spaces which will be printed by this loop, sorry, and then there's going to be a conditional statement which would wrap this star a loop printing spaces here and then another star print here. So it's going to be the same till this same till the second last row. So what we want to do, we're going to check if I is not equal to 0, so meaning I is not the first, uh, meaning this is not the first time it's running, so it's not the first row. And also we want to check it should not be the last row, so I should not be equal to, so the last row would be user input minus 1 because we started counting from 0. So always remember that it always excludes the user inputted value. Okay, so if the user says 5, I can never have the value of 5. I will have a maximum of 4. So that's what we're writing here. Okay, so once we have this, now if this is the case, what we want to do, we want to print a star, and then we want to concate and make a path for our spaces. So once we have this, now we're going to run loop for the spaces inside the pyramid. So for n in range, so the math equation that we can come up with for the spaces, so this is a 7th row pyramid and we need the 6th, so we need the 2nd row. Okay, so what we can come up with is that each time the number of spaces would gradually decrease. So for the first time, the number of spaces should be user minus 1. That's basically saying user inputted value minus 1. Then we want to multiply it with 2, and then we want to subtract 3. So if I'm correct, it should give us the number of spaces that we would need in each row. So 2 times user minus 1. So now you can see we have this user instead of user input, because every time we run this loop we will be decrementing the value of user every time. So if we would have done that with the user, things would have had different outcome. So and then we want to subtract 3 from it, and then what you want to do, want to print spaces, and then we want to concate them. Okay, after that's concatenated, we want to decrement the value of user, saying user equals user minus 1. That means every time it runs, the value of user would get reduced by 1. And then we want to print the rightmost star, and then let's add this and L. Okay, so yeah, now all that's remaining is our last row. If I equal to user input minus 1. If this is the case, we just want to print a star and then concate it, because we will be now using this. So now everything's done. All we need to do is each time the loop runs, big loop runs, we want to print everything in a new line. So we can write print, and we do not want each new line to have any space, so that's the reason we are having this quotation inside nothing. So yeah, that's basically it. Now let's run and let's see. Let's say 7, we have this. Okay, let's run it again. Let's say 34, there we have it. So yeah, that's basically it for this video. And yeah, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe, and if you like the video, please smash that like button, and yeah, share it with your friends and family. And yeah, thanks for watching.